Okay, we are live.
All
Hello,
right.
everyone. Yeah, hello, everyone. We already have a bunch of people that are waiting for you, Steve. For me,
Hey.
I hope as well. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely for
hello.
you.
Hello, DJ. Hello, Kali. Sarah. Hello. Jen. Hello. Victor. Hello. We have some emojis, but we cannot see them, unfortunately. I don't know why. Fabio. Hello, my man. It's great that all of you are here. Yeah. Yeah, hello everyone once again. And while we are waiting for more people to join, just greetings to all of you. And maybe you can share the place where are you watching us from. Uh, City, country, for example, me, I'm well, I'm not watching, but probably I will be watching how Steve is going to share his knowledge. It's super useful all the time. Yeah, from Ukraine, in central part of Ukraine. So the city calls Kremenchuk. And yeah, beautiful people. Hello, hello, Heather.
Yeah.
Uh, Tofu, hello, Nadia. Hello as well, Kenneth. Hello. Yeah, Steve, you're finally here. It was about a
Yeah.
month, I believe, yeah, since our last webinar.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been far too long. It,
Yes.
but yeah, I'm here in Portland, Oregon, and excited to talk with everybody today and share what I've got, and also hear questions and support people however I can. Excited to be here.
Amazing. Hello, Dwayne. Anya, hello. Hello from Germany. Hello, Neil. Sophie, hello. Fabio, yep. Heather from New Mexico, hello. Lena from Warsaw. A lot of people from Poland, by the way.
Yeah.
From Portland. Portland. Oh my God. From
Hey,
London, UK.
Michael.
Hello.
Hey, neighbor.
Hello.
We got some folks on LinkedIn. We got some folks on YouTube.
Yeah. I can see
Cool.
it. Yeah. That's amazing. To be
Amazing.
honest, it's really super convenient using this service to show all the comments in both of the places. Super
Yeah.
convenient. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So hello everyone from YouTube, from LinkedIn. It's yeah, I believe it's amazing experience. Hello, Renee.
All
Okay,
right.
I believe we can wait for maybe 1 or 2 minutes and we can move on. Steve will be in charge, like always. So he will share his knowledge and yeah. Hello from Canada as well. Hello, South Africa as well. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Oh, somebody from Nigeria. Amazing.
Oh,
Hey, Mercy.
Steve, I believe it's from your YouTube
From my
channel.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
From your LinkedIn. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it's amazing.
What is all this about, and how will it help people with ADHD? That is a great
Amazing
question,
question.
Victor.
Yes,
And
amazing question.
yeah, so what we'll be talking about today is um, really thinking about like not just planning but progress with ADHD, and how we like use a brain first approach, like that fundamentally making progress with ADHD brain, especially for entrepreneurs, which is my specialty, is really a matter of like understanding, okay, how does the ADHD brain work, and how are we going to then use that to work uh, to make progress based on how our brain works? Because a lot of times it's like, how productive can you be? How many things can you get done? But the bigger question is really like, how best can we work with our ADHD brain? And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about a couple of really interesting things, though, around how we can master our weeks, and why weeks are so important, and and a great container for making progress with ADHD, and what you need to put in place in order to make the progress you're capable of. I mean, that's the challenge for ADHD brains, is like there's so much brilliance and there's so much creativity, and then the execution and the doing is really challenging. And so we want to like make good on our brilliance. This is what my work is really about. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And um, yeah, it's I'm eager to get in, and it's an interactive session. So definitely throw questions into the chat as I go, and I will break from time to time to respond to them, or Sari will flag them for me, and should be a good sesh. Well, should we get started?
Yes, I believe so. So yeah, I'll be helping you. Oh, hello, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hello
I
from
haven't forgotten.
Sweden.
We'll
Yeah,
definitely get
I
together one of these days. So you've
yeah
been on
I've
my
been to
list.
Sweden. Yeah, yeah. Hello, everyone. So yeah, we are ready to start. So I'll be helping you with some comments, so you can be focused on your presentation, and we can have some small breaks in sometime. So yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah,
let's get started then. Uh, so let me get my window up. We're going to have a little presentation to share. So is everybody able to see that? Are you able to see what I'm sharing? There we go.
yep.
Okay. It's called Real ADHD Planning with me, Steve August. So let's get into it. So where I like to start is a typical week in the life of an ADHD entrepreneur, right? And because it's this experience feels so resonant and so universal. I've talked to hundreds of ADHD entrepreneurs over the last few years, and I see this pattern happening a lot. So we start out on Monday. We're like, this is the week. We got a good plan. We're going to get going. We've got an awesome list, and it's usually a really over ambitious, overcommitted list. Like we stack up a ton of stuff, but we've got a lot of energy. We're excited. Then Tuesday, all these unexpected tasks and fires start popping up, and we start to feel a little behind, a little distracted, maybe a little discouraged. Then on Wednesday, we're like, how is it already Wednesday? Like, and then we're starting to lose a little bit of confidence in our week, and sometimes a little bit in ourself. And then Thursday, there's a panic. You're like, oh my gosh, it's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. The week's over. I haven't done enough. We get into these indecision loops of what should I focus on now? And what's the important thing? And maybe we avoid the really important thing by doing everything else. Suddenly our laundry and our cleaning our area up gets really interesting. And then Friday, it's sort of like looking back, a little bit surveying the wreckage of the week, a little bit of a guilt spiral. Like, why can't I just get it together? Why can't I just do stuff? And then we might be Googling new planners or new systems. And then the weekend is, trying to catch up on the stuff we didn't get done, trying to rest, but, not really feeling very free, and to enjoy the downtime. And then, at the end of the weekend, or by the end of the weekend, set up a new plan, and then kind of start the cycle all over again. I'm just curious if this feels familiar to people. Is this something that that resonates, right? I already see one person said, yeah,
Yeah.
glad to see ridiculous optimism pattern isn't just me. No, Renee, it is not just you. It is more common than we'd like. So, the typical, solution is, well, just get a planner, right? And just get a planner. And the thing about, and this is what bugs me, is like planning is only one part of the deal. Like we can plan, but for an ADHD brain, planning is really challenging because and we'll go into why. And it's very cognitively expensive. And so, but if we spend all our energy on planning, then we're going to have a more challenge of actually doing the stuff. And just because we plan it doesn't mean we're going to do it. So a planner and planning isn't the whole game, right? So I like to just rethink of this. It's not real ADHD planning. It's how do we get real ADHD progress? Like, how do we actually make progress? And as I mentioned, the reason I started with this kind of experience of, how does a week typically go, is because weeks are really the key to getting where we want to go. It's for an ADHD brain. This is the ideal container for progress, and this is why. So, ADHD brains have a really interesting relationship to time. There's there's time blindness on one hand, where time might feel like 5 minutes, or it might feel like an hour, depending on our interest level or our focus level. But even beyond that, like, because of the way our reward mechanisms work for ADHD brains, like going and thinking about, okay, a year, where do I want to be in a year or a quarter, and I'm going to work to that. It's just too far out for our brains to really manage well and work to, because as we'll discuss, is like there's only two things that really get an ADHD brain moving often, and that is an intense interest or an intense deadline, right? And so when you're trying to make yearly goals or quarterly goals, they're way too far out. On the other side, days are way too variable, right? Every day, your day can blow up in a moment, right? There is a crisis from a client, a customer, a family member, just stuff happens, right? So if it's just like too narrow, then we're not going to be able to really make the progress that we want. And then when you think about it, months depends on weeks. So if we stack 4 or 5 good weeks together, we've got a great month. So the weeks are the key to getting where we want to go. So nail your week and everything else follows. Does that make sense? Yeah, somebody just wrote in, Willa said, I don't have time blindness, but I have a disconnect from quarterly and yearly goals. Exactly, right? There's a huge disconnect between stuff that's happening, way far out in the future, and and what you want to get done right now. And Annika says, yeah, days are way too variable. It's a big hurdle. It totally is, right? So just acknowledging that experience for everybody. So, okay, step back for a second. Why listen to me? If you don't know me, from the outside, I've been pretty successful. I took my first startup from idea to successful multi-million-dollar exit. You can see me on the left. That's young Steve back in 2008 winning an angel competition. That's in Portland, Oregon. We like to keep it a little bit weird, and we do. And then after that, I built a multi-six-figure coaching practice. But so from the outside, pretty successful, kind of made my way through life. And that was actually something that kind of got in the way almost of an ADHD diagnosis, because it's like, hey, you've been successful. How can you be ADHD? It's sort of like, well, on the inside, I got diagnosed at age 54, so just a few years ago. In the inside, it was a totally different experience, this constant feeling of overwhelm. I was paying these ADHD tax of like having to work X times harder, whether it's 3 times, 4 times harder, to organize my thoughts, to get going, to do things. And over time, it really adds up. When I was younger, I could pay the tax easily, or more easily, even though I didn't realize I was paying it. So it was a daily struggle to focus, and I just saw this pile of brilliant ideas half executed. Like, I know that's good. I know if I could just take it to that next level, if I could just actually do this stuff, then we get there. But they would always kind of stay there, half completed. And deep down, I knew I was underperforming. I knew there was more possibility in there. There's more I can contribute, more I could do, but something was holding me back. And it was really interesting to finally get diagnosed at age 54 and say, oh, this is what's going on. And the thing was, I could never enjoy downtime because I was always making up for things I didn't get done, or my brain was filling up with new ideas and new things happen that I needed to do. So my mission now is to help other ADHD entrepreneurs succeed. So I have a program called ADHD Entrepreneur Accelerator. I have a podcast by the same name. You can find it on all the podcast channels, my YouTube channel, and I have the LinkedIn newsletter, ADHD Entrepreneurs, which is now over 1,500 people on it. So it's a good place to go and find me. But right now, I want to talk about, going back to the whole thing about weeks. So the first time I did a webinar with Sergey and with Xtiles, I got a really good question. And the question was, because I was talking about weeks, they said, well, what do you consider a good week? And I thought, oh man, that's a really good question. So I really thought about it. And I said, okay, knowing what I know now, right, about ADHD brains and being an entrepreneur, there's 3 things that I think constitute a good week. First is, did I prioritize the right things? Like, are the things that are going to move me forward, whether it's in business and life, are they the things that do I know what they are going into the week? Because if I don't know what they are, I'm not going to have a chance to like really make the progress I want to make. Number two, just because I know them doesn't mean I make progress on them. So a good week is when I make progress on those things. And it might not be that I get them to completion, but I know what they are, and I figured out the time, and I've actually made progress on those. And the third thing is I meet your ADHD brain where it is. So ADHD brains we're going to talk about the whole executive function thing here, but it's variable, right? Some days we are killing it, and some days we are getting killed by it, right? It's like, it's variable. So we have to meet our ADHD brain where it is, because if we try to force things on our ADHD brains that it's not, going to be able to do or sustain, it's going to add up over time, and it leads to burnout, it leads to depression, it leads to all these different things. So meeting your ADHD brain where it is just this form of acceptance that I think is so important. So if we do those three things in a given week, it's a good week, right? It might not be a perfect week. It might still be a messy week, but it's a good week. So it feels like, hey, I was able to get on track with planning out all my tasks for the week. I didn't get stuck in analysis paralysis and just made it happen. That's a quote from somebody who's been in one of my programs. It starts to feel that way. Like, hey, I didn't get stuck. So why does this make sense? So it comes back to like, hey, we got to understand what it means to have an ADHD brain. And an ADHD brain really equals a reduced level of executive function, right? And there's deeper scientific explanations for it if you've familiarized or you've done any research, but it has to do with dopamine and norepinephrine levels and some functional areas of the brain. But the reduced executive function comes time blindness, procrastination and distraction, challenge prioritizing and option overloading, heightened rejection sensitivity, emotional dysregulation, decision fatigue and paralysis. You got a deficit in working memory as well. And so these things then contribute to greater chances of rumination, anxiety, and depression, because our brain's just churning all the time. I like to say that ADHD brains tend to be really reactive, because we're reacting not just to the stuff outside of us that's coming in, but our brain is constantly churning stuff inside of us, and we're reacting to that. So getting out of reactivity and into proactivity can be really challenging. So with us, it's not all bleak, right? It's like ADHD superpowers and kryptonite, like the supercharged knowing plus underpowered doing. So there's a part of our brain that is like awesome at learning, knowing, ideating, creating, thinking outside of the box. When we get interested in something, we will go there, right? And we will connect lots of different things. And our dopamine hunting brain is always hunting for novelty, which means that we're always like learning new stuff and creating. So this is like then coupled with an underpowered doing part of our brain. So it's like Dr. Hallowell in ADHD 2.0 calls it the Ferrari engine with the bicycle brakes. Like we've got all this stuff that we're great at in terms of generating ideas, and then the execution side and organizing and prioritizing is really challenging. So once we know this, though, we can start working with it, right? So, and I love what Dr. Russell Barkley says about this. ADHD isn't an attention disorder, it's a performance disorder. And I love it because I think ADHD is maybe one of the worst named, most unhelpfully named disorders, because it doesn't feel like an attention deficit. It feels like an attention surplus, and hyperactivity isn't always involved, right? So in some ways, it's kind of, the name gives it a disservice. So if it's about performance, it's like, yeah, that's the disconnect. Is like we have the brilliance, and then we have to execute on it. So how do we do that? And so here are the three barriers that to like making it happen with an ADHD brain. One, it's hard to prioritize and decide, right? As I said, that's really cognitively expensive. And so that is like, you look at it at the options, and I call it the great wall of everything now. Everything feels equally important. Everything feels equally urgent. And so we have this huge like wall of stuff, and it's really hard for us to unstack the wall and put things in an order that makes sense. Secondly, it's hard to start and focus to finish, right? If If there's no intense interest, if there's no intense deadline, like our starting and reward mechanisms are just not geared to starting if those things aren't there. So we have to find some other ways to do it. And third, it's hard to sustain over time. Like when the dopamine and the interest level and the novelty drops, like an ADHD brain starts to struggle to like stay with it. And that's a hugely important thing, right? Because over time, the sustaining is what compounds our efforts, right? When we keep at the same things over time and keep that going, then we start to get more and more results. So if you break it down into three things, it's the three barriers are deciding, doing, and sustaining, essentially. And that's true for ADHD entrepreneurs. It's true for everything in life too. So, but I mean, we've got all these productivity systems that are out there that honestly fail us because they're not built for our brains. But there's a number of reasons. I've tried tons of them. Trello, Notion, Todoist, Evernote, all these different things, right? And the reason I believe that they tend to like not work for ADHD brains is first, a lot of them are tools and not systems, right? Like Notion is a great tool. It can work on any system, but it's not a system in itself, right? And same for most of them. The bias towards neurotypical brains. Like I love when I'm reading an article about how to like organize and like get through your week and plan, and they'll say, okay, first you brain dump all this stuff, and then you put things in, and then you prioritize, and then you create a task list. And it's like, whoa, back up the bus. Like that prioritization step is really challenging for an ADHD brain. It's not a simple like, oh, it's going to be obvious what's going to be, the biggest priority. And that is a huge challenge. And so there's just sort of this notion that, so to speak, that you're going to be able to prioritize, and then you're going to create a neat task list, and you're just going to do the tasks on your list. Like, ADHD brains, not so much, honestly. So, and it's such this focus on planning, not progress. They're not actually supporting the things that you need to actually make progress every day. And one of the big things is like, willpower and discipline are very, very limited things, very limited resources. And for ADHD brains who have to work really hard on the executive function side of things, of the doing, of the organizing and doing, like it's even lower. And so willpower and discipline is like, you're not going to create more of it, and it's going to be no match for a dopamine hunting brain. So we have to figure out some other ways to support it, like a brain first way to support it. So what works for an ADHD supportive system is, I just stopping here to read some comments. It's like Fabio said, yes, I can create perfect systems to manage anything. I just can't keep using them. Yeah. I need something new when things get boring. I've struggled with the doing since I started actively trying to decouple my accomplishment from my self-worth. That was creating a lot. Yes, that is like, that's a real shade. That's a really, really interesting comment, because as an entrepreneur, a lot of times the doing is tied up with our self-worth, and it can be not always healthy. So what is a ADHD support for a system? What will it do? Well, it will first of all understand your ADHD brain, knowing that these things like organizing and prioritizing aren't going to be like necessarily simple or easy. Like it's going to be, as I said before, cognitively expensive. And that the doing is not going to automatically happen. It's going to keep us anchored. So one of the things I've really looked at and understood more fully, since getting my ADHD diagnosis and doing my research and learning about all this stuff, is that working memory deficit, where things are out of sight and they're out of mind, like really, really something to pay attention to. Because when we have a goal, when we have a mission, when we have things that are important, if we don't keep them in front of us and visible, like we're going to lose track of them, and we're going to drift. So it has to keep us anchored, and it has to constantly surface those priorities. Like if they're not constantly surfaced, then, we're going to forget them. And this is the thing that I started, why I actually started to move away from Notion and started using Xtiles is because Notion started to become its own distraction. It's just so deep and so customizable that it was just like, I'm spending all this time perfecting the tool, but that's sort of like like what do they call it? Productivity procrastination. I think there's a blended word for that, where it's like, yeah, it feels like you're making progress because you're tuning your tools, but you're really just, it's another way of procrastinating and distracting. And then it has to adapt to you. Like, I love X tiles. It works for me, but part of that is because my handwriting is really bad. Like, I wish I could like use more paper stuff, but my handwriting is so bad I can't read it. So I just had to just accept, okay, that's not going to work for me if I have a list or if I have an organizational system. I bought this one on off of Facebook called Minimal Desk Setup, and I think that's what it's called, and it was beautiful. And I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. It came with a pencil, and it's like, okay. And then I started using it, and I was like, I can't read anything I'm writing here, so I'm going back. Like, Xtiles is the thing that works for me, but the thing is, it's got to work for you. Right. So one of the things that I've also seen with ADHD brains is we get really resistant to people, throwing systems down on top of us. We want to make it our own. And so let's just acknowledge that it has to work for you. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work. Okay. So now I'm going to tell you the absolute secret to time estimation with ADHD. And I think this will be a very valuable thing. And the big secret to time estimation with ADHD is we have no effing clue. Like, time is super malleable. And, it's super malleable for estimating stuff. Like, we don't know what things are going to take because we probably skipped over a bunch of steps, and we don't know how much those steps actually are going to take. So that to me is like, if we go with that assumption, like, meet our brain where it is, brain first, just assume we don't know how long things are going to take. So that changes how we're going to work. And so one of the things that I found really helpful, and I'm going to do a little bit of a walkthrough here of my system, so you guys have an example, and it's the thing I kind of teach. But I found that calendars, I've seen a bunch of systems where it's, okay, just color code your calendar and everything's going to be okay, right? You'll see everything. But I find that calendars kind of like hide priorities. They show how your time's allocated, but they hide the priorities. So they just get buried because there's just so much, everything's flat. So that's where I started to use Xtiles, was because I wanted a dashboard where I just saw my priorities and they are surfaced. And so to me, that's what's super important, is like, remember, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And so if I go through the week and my priorities are out of sight, I'm going to have a real challenge in sticking to them. So let me switch over to sharing. And just looking at some of the comments as I'm going over to just walk you through quickly my dashboard. Johan said, I spent almost the whole summer building the perfect productivity system and didn't plug a single to-do into it. Yep. It's the building of it. So here's what I've been using, and people have been adapting it and using it as they are. Let me find the right window. Here we go. So this is my dashboard. I'll make it a little bigger so people can see it. Let's see, did it pop up? There it is. And so this is my week at a glance, and how I track everything, right? And this is why I've gotten involved with Xtiles and really love it, because I was able to place things exactly where I want to visually. And so the way it works is I have my week. I have this magnetic north. This is my mission, vision, and values. And this is like my big picture stuff of like, what do I want to do in the world? What kind of impact do I want to make? And how do I want my life to look like? Right. And that is always in front of me, because if I don't have it in front of me, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose track of it, and I'm going to get distracted. And what I'll do is then take what these are, and I'll break them down into different waypoints like, so I have a vision. I want to get to a certain amount of revenue per month. I want to get halfway. So what's my waypoint? Might be halfway there, might be a quarter of the way there. And then I will set, okay, what's in my way, and what's the rock that I need to like work on, and then I'll outline my next steps, and I'll do that here in this area, and then I'll brain dump all the different projects that I have that I could use that I could do, and I use the toggle, and then put the tasks inside the toggle. And those become the things that I do. And so I'll have, I'll have the great wall of everything on this brain dump area. And then I will narrow them down. And then you'll see these, what I call these 2-hour workday priorities. And I'll try to narrow them down to 2. Sometimes there's a bit more. Usually podcast should be in I have recurring stuff that just is there all the time. And then, so I use the idea of a 2-hour workday, because that's, when I think about it, I have that level of executive function when I'm really at my peak. And that's when I try to say, okay, that's my forcing function. So I want to, if I'm at my peak executive function, I know what the most important stuff is. I want to put it there. So I have my 2-hour workday priority in each day, and then my everything else. So, and I just drag these down to the different days of the week. If a day I don't get it done during a day, I'll drag it to the next day. It's pretty flexible. And I just keep repeating this each week. And to me, I check in with this every day, at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. I track my self-care, because I know to sustain, I need to be on top of my sleep, my meds, my exercise, and my nutrition. Other people use this, have put in other stuff that they is part of their self-care. But having this kind of dashboard to me is like the goal. Like, it's like my home base for my business. And I always feel, and whenever I'm drifting, or I feel like, oh, what the heck am I working on now? Or I'm distracted or whatever, I just come back to this, look at my magnetic north, look at my rocks, and go make it happen. Cool. How do I get that box to not get bigger when you toggle? It doesn't. Sometimes it does. Yeah. So, cool. So that just gives you an overview of the kind of what I do with Xtile in my dashboard. And I intentionally kind of keep it simple. I don't integrate my calendar, because I say calendars tend to hide priorities when I want to surface them. And yeah, and so that was like a real turning point in finding a tool that I could work with, and worked with the way I wanted to work with. And that's what I really liked about Xtiles. So we just talked about these things, a dashboard that, you can focus at one glance, keeps the priorities front and center, helps us not be surprised. You guys have this feeling of like, you get into the week and all of a sudden you realize there was something that you were supposed to do and you get surprised. And that it's like, oh yeah, I should not have been surprised by that, because it should have been on my radar. And so I find that with my dashboard, I don't get surprised as much, and adapts as needed, and isn't its own distraction. And it can be in print or digital. So when we think about it, if we want to realize our immense potential, it really comes down to being able to decide, do, and sustain. So decide, can we confidently prioritize and decide? Doing, can we consistently start, focus, and finish? And sustain, can we sustain over time? If we can do these 3 things, then we're going to make progress. It might be imperfect and messy, but we're going to make the progress because we stay with it. So step 1, we're just going to break down how I think about it, is getting out of the overwhelm, because I say clarity leads to focus, focus leads to action, action leads to freedom. So the 3 things that I teach are creating a magnetic north, the rock-based prioritization you got a little taste of, and I always have a project reality checker. So because I know that my ADHD brain is going to like give me way more than I can actually get done, and so I have to reality check. We need to be able to do it well. So if we're going to do that, to consistently start, finish, and focus, I've talked about the 2-hour workday, so that thinking about maximizing our executive function, like meeting our brain where it is, having a focus shield so we know, so we can defend our focus because it does need defending, and a way to start without fail, without necessarily needing that intense interest or without the intense deadline. And sustaining over time, how we stick with it, is we got to manage our dopamine over time, because the peaks, the cycles, especially when we hit a big milestone, there's a huge drop. If we manage that dopamine and keep it more steady state, we're going to be able to not get as to make more consistent progress, to keep our momentum up, and won't have so many like big troughs that we fall into. An idea of rituals versus routines, like things get boring if we keep doing them over time. And so rituals are a way to make things interesting and inject a novelty in them. And then most importantly, having a supportive tribe, right? Because one of the things that I've learned over time is that we have much more executive function together than we do alone, right? As we're working with other people in ways that make sense for ADHD brains. But if we do that together, we'll get much farther than if we do it alone. Okay, so the answer, what I've built over the last few years is something called a weekly OS. And it's for the reasons we talked about here. Like, the week is the best container of progress, right? So a weekly OS is an operating system that you design and build for yourself that helps you navigate your weeks, so that you start your weeks and you have a good week. You know what you need to do, or what are the biggest priorities going into the week. You actually make progress on them, and you meet your ADHD brain where it is, right? So what happens when when you're able to do that? And so I've started teaching this program. We've done 2 cohorts, and want to just share some of the results, what people have experienced. This was a great one from the most recent cohort. I just feel freer. I mean, it's just amazing. I had a huge backlog of flagged emails, and I've cut that in half. I mean, I just feel more relaxed. Like, I can do this. It's a good feeling. Like, that feeling of freedom is so key. Like, because ADHD brains don't always get to feel that. This was really, really striking. My ADHD brain was telling me to give up because it's too hard. But having a place to show up daily, which makes me accountable and supports me in this unique ways, quite frankly, beyond my wildest dreams. You're encouraging me to get to know myself and meet myself exactly where my brain is functioning daily, instead of fighting it and beating myself up. I got done more in the last 40 minutes than I've done in the last 2.5 months. Love that. We have a little joke that said, this thing took 5 months and 20 minutes in our co-working. And everybody thought this was going to take forever, and it took 20 minutes. Before your weekly OS, I was giving up even before I began working, and I nearly lost all self-confidence that I should even be working in my field anymore. Since starting, I've achieved many small wins, which enabled me to get back on track with a big project. Was able to communicate with my clients promptly rather than being frozen with anxiety and fear of adding more to my plate. And then I got the real work done. The fact that I got all 5 email sequences and social media done yesterday means that I was able to give that all to my VAs, and my whole team is working on it now, and it's off my plate. That is almost miraculous. So this stuff really works when we have the right support system and the right systems. And it's not just a planning, and it's not just one element. So that's why I created this Your Weekly OS course. It's a 3-week program. And we walk you through building your own weekly OS that works for your ADHD brain, and you get to run and tune it over the 3 weeks, and you make incredible progress with your business and in life. So the components are, there's an interactive, a gamified course. Like I've taught it as a live workshop, and now it's a course so that people can start anytime they want. And I'm really excited about that. And so more people can start whenever they have the bandwidth. And it comes with this really important 3 weeks of co-working sessions. So the co-working, sometimes called body doubling, is really, really where the magic happens. I don't know if you guys have experienced it, but it really, I don't know, there's a magic to it. that people are able to do and move things forward just by being with other people, by telling them what they're going to do. It's a little bit of accountability, it's a little bit of companionship, and it's a lot of forward progress. And you don't need the intense deadlines, and you don't need the intense interest. And it's just magic, and that's where a lot of this happens. And that's what gets me about some of these things that are out there, where it's like, hey, use this planner, use this tool, use this app, and it's like, yes, that will help, but the real magic is in actually making the progress, like not just making the plan, but making the progress. And the best way to make progress is alongside other people. And then finally, each week on Mondays, I have a live learning session. So it's basically office hours so any questions you have that you need support with, you can get it right here live. And it's something I do each week for the 3 weeks. And the cool thing about this whole thing is that bundled into the program is a year subscription to Xtiles Plus. And that's worth $99 on its own. And yeah, it's just great to have that as so that because Xtiles is so adaptable, that I see people use it, and then the system is built with it, but you can then tweak it to tune it to work exactly the way you want to do it. And that's why I love working with Xtiles, and it's been just an amazing partnership. So that is on offer now. I'm officially launching that today as a course, and you can access it. And if you decide you want to take advantage of it, you can get $100 off. It's regularly $299. You get another $100 off. And you get all the things that are listed here, and you just use this coupon code, and it will be there for you. And as this person who said it in the last cohorts just said, do it. The amount of progress you will be able to make will give you back the value invested and beyond. It was a no-brainer even before the 3 weeks were over. So that's what yes, it's definitely gamified because, and it's cool. I'm using this, just started using this platform, and it has all kinds of dopamine hits in there. There's bonuses, there's celebrations, you earn experience points along the way. And there's lots of cool kind of surprises that I've baked into this thing to keep it going. But ultimately it's about you making your progress. So that's what I got. If you guys have questions about anything, whether it's what we talked about, working with your ADHD, whether it's about the course, whether it's about Xtiles, we have plenty of time for questions. So let me know what you guys have in your minds.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Steve, for this amazing presentation, as always. I just want to give some kind of my feedback, because I was attending one of these sessions. It's truly amazing, because a lot of support, people asking questions, and it's like I believe the most value. It's not just a group of people that just sit and do something and play around, like many people say. But you can ask questions to Steve. Steve can help you. Steve can help you with your ADHD, about your entrepreneurship as well. I believe it's like one of the best parts of it. And regarding your template as well, I started to describe this idea that you described during our webinars to more people, and I started to use almost the same template like you have, because previously I was using daily layout with 40 tasks, maybe 50 tasks in a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, do I have ADHD or not? It's a bit hard to answer, but yeah, it was definitely a struggle to make right priorities, because you understand, well, everything is important. Because I saw a lot of comments like people say, Eisenhower matrix doesn't work because everything seems so important, and I cannot, take something off, and so on. And I remember in your template that you have all of the projects that you have, directions, or some important stuff that you have in your life. Next, you need to choose only 5 of them. They're like the most important. And then you need to choose only 2 of them. And for me, just clicked. I started to use it, and well, that's amazing. So just wanted to share this feedback. It's now I have like 7 to 8 tasks during the day. I have like maybe 3 to 4 the most important ones, and that's it. If I done like all of them, like this important ones, I can move further, something like that. Yeah, little feedback.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great to have you in that, and yeah, it's it's so it's just another way to sort of that points out that even sometimes having been in business for a long time, businesses sometimes, even when it's not an ADHD business, acts a little ADHD, and because there's so many different things you could do, and that prioritization is really important. And I think there was a okay, it looks like that there's a sign up issue. Norin, I see your message. I will fix that. Hold on. But yeah, it's that prioritization is super, super important. Hold on just a second. And I will fix that forthwith, that problem that Norin's having. So
yeah, there is also a question about will it be in Zoom or not. So it will be in Zoom. And co-working sessions suit various time zones. Yes, because for example, I'm in Ukraine. It was super convenient me to join. It was like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. my place. So yeah, it was quite convenient, super interesting. Maybe it's not like the start of the day that you can have your questions, but still, it was super useful.
yeah. Norin, try it again. I just fixed that, so it should give you the right price now.
Yeah, and by the way, to all the people who already subscribed to Xtars, we will prolong your subscription for another year. Yeah, something like that.
Cool. There was a question, about the time zones. The co-working sessions happen 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and they go for 2 hours each day, except Friday is just 1 hour. And the and people find it that they can join for all of it. They join for some of it. But the crew that we have right now is such a great group of people. So you ought to be joining in with a group of people. I saw somebody saying about the social interaction being a little challenging, in social time. It's not really social time. We just basically come in. How it works is we come in and we go around, and if there's a lot of people, we'll just put it into the chat. What are you working on? Set a timer, and basically that's what happens. I'll check in. I'll say hi with everybody at the, when the timer goes off, see how everybody's doing. But we're there to work. We're there to get things done. And people get things done today. People are killing it today. And what I found for a lot of people is because they're in a virtual room with people who really get how their brain works. And that sense of belonging and companionship of like, you can let the mask down. Like people come in and it's like, yeah, I meant to do this. And yeah, I got into an argument on LinkedIn with somebody, and everybody goes, oh yeah, we've been there. So it's one of those places that is going to be totally supportive to you. And that's like the heart of what I do is like, there's a place where you can be exactly who you are and whatever your brain is. Let's see here. A couple of things. Some really good questions here. What hints, literature, etc., are there regarding why ADHD becomes so extremely exhausting after the age of 50? Yeah, Anya, it's. I think there's, having experienced this myself, right? This is where it really hit. Is one, our overall energy level drops. So we might be paying that ADHD tax while we're younger, but we have more energy. We're just more energetic. And at that transition from your 40s to your 50s, just seems like there's an energy drop. And I think also, yes, life has gotten, nobody gets through life unscathed, right? So, there's stuff that happens. In life that we have to navigate, and anything that's like emotional stuff that we have to do, that also drains our executive function. And it just takes us longer, just like it takes us longer to rebound from injuries or things like that as we get older. We just have less of that pool to work with. So we have to actually be more intentional about our executive function. So I think about executive function. I think the analogy I like to use is executive function for ADHD person is like insulin for a diabetic. It's something that you have to be conscious of and manage. And as we get older, we have different levels of reserves. Yeah. And Annika says, yeah, there may be a hormonal element too, especially for women, going through perimenopause and menopause. I'm not an expert on that, but yeah, there's no question that there's a lot of impact there. Natalia asked about any advice when you struggle with quote unquote laziness or avoidance of tasks. Like, how do you overcome it when you struggle with motivation drive to get started? The co-working is the silver bullet for that for me, quite honestly. It is, I don't know why it's so magical. It just is. It doesn't sound like on the face of it, if you show up with other people and tell them what you're going to do, it shouldn't make that much of a difference, but it does. And I see it every day, every week. And that's why the course actually comes with the co-working, because that's where, you're going to actually apply stuff and make stuff happen. If it was just a course that you were going to do on your own, I don't think people would see the same progress. Awesome. All right. So happy you signed up. Cool. Is there any form of trial for a month to see if the software works for you? Are you specifically talking about Xtiles? There is a free account for Xtiles. I think there's another one about prioritization. Yeah, there was. Let me find that one. So prioritization, I can't find the exact.
Yeah, I
chat.
saw this question from DJ. I believe I will give you it on the screen just a second. It was amazing question. To be honest, I was also very curious about that. How do you prioritize something? Do you have some hacks or something like that? Just a second. I'm going to find it.
Yeah, and it's not so much hacks. It's just like, this is something that we spend a lot of time on in the course, in the weekly OS, because without having this, it's hard to prioritize, right? And that is, you saw on my dashboard, there was an area called magnetic north. And this is the heart of prioritization, is knowing what impact you want to make in the world, whether it's global, whether it's your family. There's no mission too big or too small. And then what do you want it to look like? What do you want your life to look like? And in the course, I have a number of tools to help you create that, including some AI prompts that are really helpful, because getting that in the right form, and I have a very specific way of doing it, like is the root of prioritization, because there's no way to prioritize unless you have that magnetic north. If you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what it is you're after and how you want your life to look like or your business to look like, then it's really hard to judge whether any one thing is going to get you there, right? It's that old Yogi Berra saying, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. And so when I think about prioritization, it's always that. And it's always like, how do we go from that big mission vision and our magnetic north? How do we break that down into smaller steps? Again, something else ADHD brains aren't super great at is like breaking big things down into small steps. And so we have a whole process for doing that within the course.
Yeah, I also remember, like you mentioned, that you need to have like a leap of faith, I know, something like that. So, of course, prioritization is, what do you believe the most, and so on. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Any other thing? Any tips on navigating the time scheduling with others? Uh, yeah, there's a couple of tricks I use with scheduling with others. There's three or two depending. Um, one is I used to um, so one is to use a scheduler because that scheduling is a really cognitively expensive, and I'm going to use that phrase again because it just captures it. Because narrowing options is not an ADHD brain strength. And what is a calendar but 365 times 24 hours of options or more, right? And so scheduling can be a little tricky. Um, so one way is decide who should use the scheduler. Sometimes I will encourage other people. I will give people the scheduler, my scheduler, because I put that task of making the choice of scheduling on their plate, on their executive function. Because once you start looking everything through the lens of executive function, you can start saying, okay, what's going to be the best use of my executive function, or how can I get the most out of it? And so having them schedule it versus myself schedule it, but sometimes I'll take it on because there's definite times I want to protect. But you can also set up your schedule to protect that. The other thing is one of my former startup clients who I was coaching started a startup where it's an AI email scheduler. Essentially, you just copy Bryce on the email with the other person and say, "Hey, Bryce, can you set up this appointment with them?" And Bryce goes, looks at your calendar, say, "Hey, here's where Steve's available. What works for you?" And it all stays in email instead of going to your calendar. So there may be other tools that are doing that right now, but it's a tool called Bryce. And if you want more info on that, you can reach out to me. So yeah, Will is saying I'm good at creating to-dos, but not at figuring out what the potential to-dos would truly move my visions forward, right? And that's like the heart of like, the good week is prioritizing the right things, making progress on them, and meeting your brain where it's at. And so the whole thing with which of this immense pile of to-dos that are on your plate are going to move you forward the most. And that's what we do in the weekly OS system, is like give you like a little mini system to do that. You know your magnetic north, you know where you want to go, and then it comes down to, well, what's in your way, and we figure it out from there. And so that's what people really start seeing, and that's also what I've seen. Like, I have one person in my my community who used to teach the Stephen Covey stuff, right? And said still didn't make the progress that she had hoped. But what she noticed was that it was the combination of knowing what your priorities are and the co-working together that create the magic, that create the progress. Because there's a lot of co-working solutions out there, and by all means use them if they work for you. But what she found when she was doing co-working without this kind of sense of what's the priority, what's the good, what needs to be done, what's the most important, is that they get a lot done, but it would be on stuff that wasn't as impactful. So you'd still work, get things done, but you wouldn't have moved the progress, the business forward the way you had hoped.
Yeah, I also have, if you don't mind, one question from Kylie.
Yeah, go for
About tools.
the X-Tiles
Yeah,
questions.
it's not about X-Tiles question, it's about tools in general. We just want to highlight these points that we do not leave our users alone. And like Steve mentioned, it's a place where you can adjust everything for yourself and by yourself. Of course, it's not like a tunnel that you need to move only forward or back or whatever. You can choose and find your own way. And also, we have this opportunity to have free, like a support session as well. So we can, like onboarding session in general, so we can go through the features to show regarding of what do you want to have inside, to showcase how to make it happen. So that's why it could work, I believe. And also we have a community, ADHD community as well. So yeah, something like that. And Steve, he joined this community as well. I know that Steve also has his own community, but it's like an open community. It's not only about Xstars, but about ADHD in general. So, yep, something like that.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, and
Um,
thank you for all the feedback. Thank you so much. I can see DJ says like it was very
mm,
helpful. Thank you so much, Renee. Thank you for being that active today. It's always amazing to communicate with our audience. Yep, AJ, thank you so much. Yeah, Steve has only amazing, excellent advices, of course.
well, thank you, AJ. It's great to have everybody here. It's great to be here, and glad people got some value on it. Think about joining us in your weekly OS and the community co-working, and it's uh, yeah, it's a resource that's there for you, and yeah, want to take advantage of it. Uh, you'll get a ton of support.
Yep. Okay, I believe that's it. Thank you again, Happy Odd Girl, amazing nickname. Thank you for your feedback, Anya. Thank you for your feedback as well, Kylie. Thank you so much, and thank you all, Willow, Dwayne, Fabio, all the people that I know already from previous webinars and other places, Anika, Natalia, and so on. Um,
Mhm.
There's some issues with the payment again. I can see.
Let me see this. Let's see what's going on here.
Thank you, DJ, again.
Should not be in.
Yuan, thank you so much. People in the comments are amazing. We always have amazing audience. Jen, thank you so much. Heather, thank you. Uh, Willow, you are amazing. Thank you. Kenneth, thank you so much. Anika, thank you. Paul. Yeah,
Looks like we have some issues on the, just for folks who have been trying to buy. It looks like there are some issues, and I will let's see, make sure I have everybody's email who tried. I do. Okay, so I will. Anybody who has tried to check out, I will come back to you right away, and I'll figure out what's going on here because it should be working just fine. Um, so yeah, so
that's
don't
amazing.
worry, I got you.
That's amazing. In any case,
Yeah.
many people want to join, and yeah,
Mhm.
definitely there is a big value. So yeah, you definitely need to be a part of it. Dwayne, thank you so much, man. Okay, that's it. Steve,
All right.
thank you so much. I just want to highlight, I don't know, maybe announce, let's say, in other words, that we will have another webinar with Steve in 2 weeks. Same Tuesday, but in 2 weeks, same time. I mean, so yeah, stay in touch, and probably we'll have more people to join us.
Yeah. Cool. And I've anybody who got a test mode error, I've fixed that for you as well. So you can try again.
Amazing, amazing.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, Anya, thank you, thank you. Okay, thank you all. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you again, and yeah, see you next time. See you.